Get the latest European news and current affairs. Whatever happens, when it happens, you're always the first to know. Check in current news. European Journal, tonight at 8.
A new regulation has commenced to prohibit the unlicensed export of powdered formula, including milk powder and soya milk powder for infants and children under 36 months. Those aged 16 or above are exempt on their first departure within a 24-hour period. And each may take 2 cans of powdered formula with a net weight of up to 1.8 kilograms out of Hong Kong for personal use. The maximum penalty for offenders is a fine of $500,000 and imprisonment for 2 years.
We heard you have some great products to sell. How about making ATV's 2013 Add Easy package your one-stop solution? Our promotion reaches as far as the Pearl River Delta region and southern China, and our prices start at just $68,000. Call 3168-2232 or our mainland hotline now.
North Korea today celebrated the 101st anniversary of the birth of its founder, Kim Il-sung.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry took the opportunity of the occasion to call for peace on the Korean Peninsula. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry was greeted by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe at his Tokyo office today on the last leg of his trip to Northeast Asia. Aiming to diffuse regional tensions in the wake of threats of attack by North Korea, Kerry's visit was timed to perfection. Today, the reclusive state celebrated the 101st anniversary of the birth of its founding father, Kim Il-sung. The top U.S. diplomat took the opportunity to urge Pyongyang to take its threats against Washington's allies a notch down.
One thing is certain: we are united. There can be no confusion on this point. The North's dangerous nuclear missile program threatens not only North Korea's neighbors, but it threatens its own people.
Japan has played it safe by keeping PAC-3 missiles stationed outside its defense ministry building. Over in South Korea, protesters marked the day by calling for peace talks without preconditions between Washington and Pyongyang, something North Korea has long called for, but the U.S. has denied. Seoul warned that the reclusive nation's untested leader, Kim Jong-un, grandson of Kim Il-sung, is difficult to read.
The new leader in North Korea seems to be a little bit different, Before, we had more expectation, more predictability on what and how North Korea will do in this kind of the provocations. But this time, under a young leader, we have less and less predictability.
Pyongyang's only ally, China, had also angered the reclusive state by backing sanctions imposed by the United Nations after it carried out a nuclear test in February. Beijing today called for calm. China has always maintained close communication with all relevant parties, urged the parties not to take actions that will antagonize one another and provoke one another with their words and actions, and avoid doing anything that could make the situation even more tense, said Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying. Kerry said he hoped Beijing's move to back the UN sanctions was a sign that it recognizes the regional instability caused by Kim's actions. The BBC says it'll go ahead and broadcast later tonight a documentary that was filmed secretly during a university study trip to North Korea.
The broadcaster's decision came despite complaints from the London School of Economics, which said its students were used as human shields.
With tensions growing over attack threats from North Korea, British broadcaster the BBC decided to work on a documentary for its Panorama programme. It sent 3 journalists to accompany 10 students from the London School of Economics on a student society study trip to the reclusive state at the end of last month. The LSE Students' Union said those on the tour were misled and accused the BBC of using the undergraduates as human shields.
Students have been told before that there might be 1 journalist going on, but that would be print journalism, whereas actually we had 3 journalists and it was going to be a film documentary.
The broadcaster denied the accusations, saying the students were informed before they began the 8-day trip.
As they got closer to North Korea, we told them exactly what the makeup of the BBC crew was. They had been told the nature of the fact that there was a journalist going along with them.
The BBC maintains that the only party deceived was Pyongyang and that most of the students were in favour of the secret filming. The undercover three-member investigative team comprised a BBC reporter, his wife and a cameraman. Despite being criticised by the umbrella body for British universities, the broadcaster insists it'll go ahead and broadcast the programme, which it says is strongly in the public interest.
Back in Hong Kong, very severe air pollution is once again choking the city, with the problem particularly bad in Mong Kok and Central.
But first in our local roundup, a legislator and green groups are threatening to stop the government from building a military facility at the new Central Harbourfront. Emily Sue reports.
The government has applied to the Town Planning Board to build a 0.3 hectare pier for the People's Liberation Army at the new Central Harbourfront. But Civic Party legislator Kenneth Chan, harbour protection activist Winston Chiu, and the environmental group Green Sense are up in arms, saying the government had promised earlier that the area will be for public recreational use.
But now, if this is given over to the military, to the PLA, then this plan, which has been promised by government for the past 10 years, will be completely destroyed. It will be absolutely against the interests of Hong Kong people.
Chiu has not ruled out taking the matter to court if the administration insists on going forward with the military facility. Hong Kong was hit with particularly foul air again, with roadside readings soaring to more than 200 in Mong Kok and Central this afternoon. The Environmental Protection Bureau said the lack of strong winds failed to disperse pollutants, particularly nitrogen dioxide. But the observatory says air quality could improve tomorrow as winds are expected to pick up. The district court has ordered former feng shui practitioner Tony Chan to pay more than $340 million in taxes, interest and legal fees immediately. This follows his unsuccessful challenge to a tax assessment after losing his bid for the late tycoon Nina Wang's multi-billion-dollar estate. The Inland Revenue Department says it already froze some of Chan's accounts and money he received from property sales. Chan changed his name to Peter Chan last month after becoming a Christian. Emily Sue, ATV News.
Time now for sports with Britton Clennett.
And golfing history has been made.
That's right, Adam Scott has become the first Australian to win the Masters. Scott beat Angel Cabrera to the green jacket after a fierce sudden death playoff.
Adam Scott had everything to play for when he went into the final day of the Masters in Augusta, Georgia, and the spectators were in for a treat. Australian Scott went neck and neck with Argentine Angel Cabrera in a playoff after both finished on 9 under par 279. Scott, vying to become the first person from his country to win the Masters, narrowly misjudged the first playoff hole. Cabrera made par. But he would lament over this birdie putt, which he only just missed. Scott sealed the deal with this 15-foot birdie, giving Australia its first Masters victory since the tournament began in 1934.
By any measure, this is a historic day for Australian sport. All Australians will be marvelling in his achievement and thinking of him. Adam, Australia's incredibly proud of you.
Guan Tianlang, the 14-year-old from Guangzhou, who also made history by becoming the youngest person to compete in the Masters, lost the momentum he had at the start of the tournament. But Chinese fans can't complain with his performance. He carded a 75 to finish 58th on 12 over 300. And he received the Low Amateurs Silver Cup. World number 1 Tiger Woods, still paying the price from a drop shot penalty on Friday, made 2 bogeys to close with a 70 and tie for 4th.
In football, Newcastle fans have clashed with police following an English Premiership match, while Manchester City defeated Chelsea to reach the final of the FA Cup.
Manchester City survived an early scare when skipper Vincent Kompany headed the ball off the line in their English FA Cup semi-final clash against Chelsea at Wembley. In the 35th minute, Yaya Toure began the move, which led to City opening their account through Samir Nasri. Chelsea were dealt another blow 2 minutes into the second half when Sergio Aguero's header made it 2-0 to City. Then an acrobatic finish by Demba Ba gave the Londoners some hope. And Chelsea almost equalised near the end, but City's goalkeeper was in top form. City won 2-1 and will return to Wembley next month to take on Wigan in the final. Violence erupted after Newcastle were defeated 3-0 at home by Sunderland in their Premiership derby. Police kept rival fans apart as Sunderland supporters made their way to a railway station for the short journey home. Disgruntled Newcastle fans then turned their wrath on police, and 3 officers were injured in the clashes that broke out. 29 people were arrested. The violence came one day after Millwall fans fought among themselves during their club's FA Cup semi-final defeat by Wigan. In Spain, La Liga leaders Barcelona rested some top players when they visited Real Zaragoza. Thiago Alcantara put Barca in front after 20 minutes. Christian Teo doubled their tally before the break. Teo was on target again in the second half. Barcelona's 3-0 victory leaves them on top of the table, 13 points clear of Real Madrid, who defeated Bilbao by the same score.
A look at the weather before we go. It was fine and sunny today. Temperatures ranged from 19.5 to 27.1 degrees, while the relative humidity was between 62 and 89%. Winds were light. Looking at the ultraviolet reading, the maximum recorded for the day was 8. Tomorrow's UV index will be around 8 as well. Let's take a look at the weather around the region. A ridge of high pressure is covering the coastal areas of southeast China. And moving on to the satellite images, the weather is generally fine over southern China. And here's what we can expect over the next few days. Warm and sunny tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 21 to 27 degrees, turning cloudy on Wednesday with a top temperature of 26 degrees. Showers and thunderstorms for the rest of the week. Now for tomorrow's air pollution levels. General stations will be high to very high at 65 to 130, and roadside pollution levels will be very high at 120 to 190. Finally, here's the weather around the world.
That's the main news for Monday night. We'll have an update in an hour. I'm Hailing Chan.
I'm Britain Clement. And I'm Anne-Marie Sim. Thanks for watching ATV. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Coming up, check in current news, European Journal.
For a teenage boy, nothing confuses him more than a pair of sexy legs. Especially those that belong to a total stranger living in his house. Fortunately, he has got his own way to deal with life and all his girl problems. ATV World Spectacular, Lost Indulgence. Tonight at 9.
Pick up a camera, and they're ready to go. For better or worse, their work has let us see the real India, whether you like it or not. Documentary World, Almost Famous, Tuesday night at 9.
How much can one brain work? Her answer is 7 businesses and counting. In Singapore, she is the superwoman in a business suit. The superstar on the stage. And someone who loves to sing. All about documentary. Million Makers, Tuesday night at 10.
From a shy little princess